Alvarado, and I'm married. I've been married for 2 years, and my wonderful husband is here. And so I would like to share now a little bit about my story and how, specifically about education and how I was able to make it through with no student loans. I hope at the end you are inspired to finish your education, have a driving principle that will take you or carry on through life, and also have the wisdom to endure the circumstances that Peter and Art were talking about. So a little bit about my background. I came to the United States in 1998 with no documentations. So along with my mom, who was a single mom, with 5 siblings. So just with that, it sets, a pretty difficult platform to be able to be successful in the United States, right? Just with that, you're able to see, learning a new language and assimilating a culture, and just having the thought of being successful. It was just kind of like at the end of my list, right? The first thing was to be able to survive in the culture, being able to survive coming to a new country. And I remember I was about 15 in high school when I had a thought. I was like, well, I want to do something of my life, but how is it going to happen? I mean, especially because of my legal status. There was, for me, even less resources, financial resources, or even being able to exercise a career. It was like no possibilities, right? But nonetheless, while I was in high school, I was still able to think, well, maybe in 10 years down the road, there will be an opportunity for me. So I'm still going to work for it, right? Well, 10 years after that, it still didn't happen. There was still no opportunities within the legal system, but I was still able to work throughout that time. Now, in high school, and as some of the speakers were sharing about being able to have a mentor, it's very important to honor those that are ahead of us and that have gone before us. So I was very thankful for a teacher in high school that believed that I had something to give and something to say, right? I remember her name is Charlene Freed, and I owe her pretty much being here today. And she would chant this little song to me in high school. She was my English teacher during that time, and she would say, Juan speaks English. He speaks very well. There's only one problem. He has nothing to tell. And she would tell me, and you have something to give. You have something to offer. And because I would imagine coming to the States, having no way to communicate. And she would say, don't worry about speaking right now. Because what matters is having an idea, and what matters is that you have something to say. Because ideas could be translated. You could say them in Spanish, or you could say them in another language, and you'll be able to translate them. So I understood that it was not the language that I needed to learn. It was something else that I needed to have inside of me. It was a different drive that would take me on to life. That was more than learning a language. And so during that time, I didn't know anything of the educational system, zero information. But she was able to still help me to get some scholarships. And again, as I share with you about coming to the States with no documentation, because it was very difficult financially, right? But she shared with me, go to a community college, right? We're sold the idea of, and it's more of a pride that comes, right, to being able to graduate from a prestigious school, right? I am a high school teacher, and I graduated from Cal State LA. And I earned the same money as my colleague that graduated from Stanford. But I don't have a student loan. And why? Because you have to understand what is it or where is it that you want to be in life. And then you go back and see, what school do I need? What are the resources that I need? And you have to pretty much undress yourself for those fancy clothes. And I'm not talking about literal terms, but what it's in here in our minds and the ideas that are sold. What is it really that I need for where I'm going, right? So I wanted to be a high school teacher, and she told me, and I know, and it's very interesting because as a high school teacher, every teacher is able to say like, hey, are you going to a UC? You're not going to a UC? Like if you were less of a person if you don't, right? So I remember her telling me, don't worry, you could go to a community college, it will get you there. It will get you there. Now, I wasn't able to get any financial aid. I wasn't able to get any big scholarships. So I had to work really hard in high school to be able to get scholarships that range from $100 all the way to $750. I remember being in front of about 500 people reading an essay that I wrote. It was an essay contest, and I remember the theme was my idea for a better world. And I remember just being able to get this awesome metaphor about birds flying in a perfect V formation. And I remember being so nervous with my broken English, but I remember I was like, I'm doing it for $500, I'm doing it to win this contest, and I got it, yay, and after like 10 scholarships, there was only $2,000, right? So I made it to community college in 2 years, right? Now, during that time, also there's this idea that you have to count the cost. What is it going to cost you? And not just financially. What is it going to cost you emotionally, and what is going to cost you physically? The platform that I was given, which I did not choose to be undocumented. I did not choose to come to the country. I did not choose these things, right? So I had to count the cost. What is it going to cost me to get where I want? Right? Having no documentations, what is the cost for me? Not having this, what is the cost for me? Okay? And now, when you're put in that position, then as well, there has to be a driving force. And we were talking, and the speakers have been talking about the thing inside of us that move us forward. And what I learned in my life, which I got it actually from a book, it's The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People, right? Then it was remade, and it was the 7 Habits for Highly Effective Teens, which I like it way better. There is one chapter that speaks about having a principle-centered life. And he talks about how sometimes we do things because the center of our life is a certain thing. But we have to be very careful to know what is that thing that it's in the center. For example, if you think like, oh, my girlfriend or my boyfriend is the reason why I do things, then you will probably fail. Why? Because the moment that falls, you fought with it. So I understood in that moment that I had to have a principle that would not fail. I had to have a constant, that would not vary, right? Not a variable, but something that was constant. The reason why I'm doing these things. I tell my students in high school, why do you come to school? Half of them, or more than half, I'll say 90% answer, because I want to learn. I'm like, you could go to YouTube, just like art, learn how to do graphic design and all the computer stuff. Or you could learn the drums. You could go to YouTube to learn that. Why do you come to school? If your answer to learn, that would not wake you up in the morning. That would not wake you up in the morning at all. So I remember in my life, it was actually what I did not have that would make me wake up in the morning. It was the principle of creating a change for my life and my generations. I didn't have to be in the same cycle of poverty of my family. That was my principle during that time. Obviously, as you go in life, your principles change, but you have to make sure that the principle that you choose and what drives you has to be constant, and it cannot change. And there are things like service, or love, or honesty. Those are principles that don't change within you, right? But a relationship or friends and those things, they will fall. Even fame and money, when they fall, you fought with them. So you have to find something that is constant, right? So I remember a particular job that my mom had in Mexico was that she had to sew tags in these tags or labels in pants and jeans that said made in the U.S. How ironic, right? When they say like, you guys are taking the jobs, like, no, you guys go and take them over there and then you get the credit for it. I was 10 years old when I was cutting those pants and helping and cutting those, cutting the threads of those pants, getting $10 a week for jeans that are cheap to the United States, and they're sold like $30, $40 a piece. So when we're talking about, also even the undocumented community, we are talking also about a community that has been exploited even from their own countries. And there's this cycle, right? Why do they come here? Well, we're even exploited by, the country that we are coming to. And I'm not criticizing the U.S. at all, because this is the country that has given me the greatest opportunity in my life to make a change. But I have also tell you and show you what's behind the scenes for some of us. With this, telling you about the reason why I'm telling you about this is because that was something that I would look. I don't want to be there. And if you don't want to be there, then something has to change. Right? And for me and in my platform for my life, it was education. It was to be able to finish my education. Now, I might not end up being a millionaire or, I don't know, having that one idea that would change the world. But I know that I lay down, in a sense, I lay down my life in the sense of working hard for my future kids, that they will, I'm out of the cycle. I'm out of the cycle, and they don't have to go through the things that I went through. They will retire, right? And I see it as a building, and you form a foundation for somebody else to do something greater and greater. And in me, it had to be this, I had to be this foundation for my future kids, and even being able to share what I've learned with the students around me, right? And three things that are very important that I want to leave you with is that one thing, that your principle. What is the principle that you have? Being able to have a mentor, and make sure that it's a mentor that it's not going to take something that doesn't get anything from you, but someone that loves you, wants to see you successful. And the third thing is also that I think the speakers have been talking about is that emotional intelligence to make it through life. Get a healthy mentor that will be able to help you to not fall when things go wrong. And there's a quote as well by Samuel Smiles, and it says, and it's the principle of sowing and reaping. And it says that if you sow a thought, you'll reap an act. And if you sow an act, then you'll reap a habit. And if you sow a habit, you'll reap a character. And if you reap a character, you'll sow destiny.
Hey, Jeremy Lejeune here. I'd like to thank all of our sponsors that helped this event happen. Feel free to check them out all over here. Also, all the speeches are posted on our YouTube channel, so feel free to check that out as well.